Hi everyone, I'm Shelly and you're watching There's No Place Like Home. Today is my last installment in the Brave New World 2020 series, a good way to end 2020. And today's topic is this: thinking is obsolete. So over the last several months, I have been going over the similarities between the book Brave New World by Aldous Huxley and what we see happening in society right now, and the way in which the public education system seems to have really had a large hand in ushering this new era in, if you want to call it that. So now the public education system isn't alone in guilt when it comes to engineering society to start behaving in a fashion that, you will find in a lot of the behaviors in this dystopian novel. Because there's the media, there's the university system, there's the entertainment industry. But the thing is that the public education system is the very first glimpse that children, that people get of this neurolinguistic programming, of the social engineering, of this designing, if you will, of the populace by the powers that be in a way to orchestrate them to behave in a certain way, the way that is going to enable them to get their narrative out the best, the way that is going to be easiest for us to be controlled. So the last thing, again, is I'm going to talk about thinking is obsolete. It is a common theme throughout this entire book that the people in this book have been so thoroughly brainwashed that most of them have absolutely no capability of thinking at all. They cannot hold an original thought. All they can do is repeat what they have been told via the neurolinguistic programming that they received in their sleep as infants. And this is something that, although we are not neurolinguistically programmed in factories like they are in this book as infants, it is certainly something that it's getting more prevalent in the world today that, this neurolinguistic programming is very heavily started in the school system, and they will see and hear this neurolinguistic programming everywhere, whether it's in schools, what they will see it on commercials, cartoons, movies. And what it is doing, it is trying to get everyone to, and I've mentioned this in other videos, is just to repeat talking points. They do not want people to have the ability to think deeply, and as I mentioned before, to have an independent thought. They want people to just obey what they are told without question, because a lot of the stuff that we are told is nonsensical. And we're at the point now that if you actually listen to the things that people are believing or the things that people are parroting, you will see that, yes, common sense is largely gone. And whether, it depends on age, but whether it is the fault of the school or the universities or the media or the entertainment system, people have completely lost the ability to reason. There is no reasoning left. People are not able to look into things themselves, to put two and two together. And it seems like people no longer have the ability to think, this doesn't sound right. People are blindly accepting what they are told because that is the conditioning that, like the characters in this book, we, especially the younger generations, have been privy to. And you know what? You can see it in the younger generations that, yes, there are some older generations that, yes, are just as brainwashed. But unfortunately, you are seeing it more and more in these younger generations because they're getting hit so hard with it in the school system nowadays. So the thing is that some people really do seem truly incapable of genuine reasoning, while others they're choosing not to exercise their thought processes because they just don't want to feel uncomfortable. And this is something that you see happening in Brave New World, especially with a character named Bernard. He's often thinking different from the rest of the characters, but he doesn't want to voice these things. Not so much because he likes being comfortable, although it could be a part of it, but it's because he's just afraid of what the other people are going to think about what is actually going on in his head. And so, yeah, there are people I think that really can see, at least have an idea that something's off, but they will not say anything about it. They will not do anything about it. And they would rather pretend that everything is okay than actually admit that something very, very wrong is happening. So they would rather stay in their little bubble and than expose untruths and outright deception. And if you look at Brave New World, the way that there are instances where people will come out and say things in Brave New World that I mentioned in some of the other videos that are considered to be taboo, like people are shocked when they say certain things. And that is really mirrored in the way that people react when we are now saying things that aren't supposed to be uttered ever, no matter what subjects. We're at the point now where I mentioned this before, that our speeches is getting censored. We're not supposed to talk about certain things. And so in Brave New World, I mentioned that people are horrified when people say things that are off of the narrative, that are off of their neurolinguistic programming. These people are often, they're shunned. They're sent out of the city. They're called savages, and they actually will buy tickets. The people who live in the cities, who are still a part of this whole colony of hive mind mentality, they will buy tickets to go out into the wilderness or the deserts, and they will actually peer at these savages as if it's a zoo. And that is what is happening in the book to the people who do think for themselves. That is the way that they're being treated, and yeah, they're losing their jobs. And does that sound familiar to you? Because what we see in our world, when people are daring to think independently and daring to think what the powers that be are telling us, what we're seeing is censorship. We're seeing fact checkers. We're seeing posts being removed, posts being censored. We're seeing little warning labels being put along the bottoms of things because they do not want people thinking for themselves. That's why these things are showing up. They want to make it easy for people. Oh, well, if people just look at these, they're going to believe this. And you know what? Unfortunately, a lot of people do. They are at the point now where they're just not used. They're not used to researching things. They have grown to be really intellectually lazy. And so when they see these little fact checker things, they will automatically believe them without actually taking a second look. We also see blacklists. We see doctors who are being censored, and that goes right in with the censorship, but they're also losing their jobs. They're having their licenses taken away. We see cancel culture. You dare to say the wrong thing on social media, that's it. They will come after you. And then we have people who are getting doxxed. If you don't know what doxing is, that is just something that happens very often on social media. When someone says or does something that isn't approved by the masses, is that they will actually go out there and they will release a person's address, their phone number, their place of employment. They will do everything that they can to ruin that person's life because they made the mistake of going against what the official narrative is supposed to be. And you know what? Your thinking ability must be exercised. And I think really that's what they're trying to stop. They don't want people exercising their thinking abilities because it really is like a foreign language. You know how, like, if you learned a foreign language and you don't practice it, you don't really speak it, and you'll notice that you start to lose it after a while. I had 6 years of German, and you would think, wow, she's probably really fluent. And no, I'm probably at like a beginner's level just because I never used it. And that is what happens when you are not exercising your thinking ability. And they're trying to drive that thinking ability away from people, because once you stop exercising that ability, very soon it will happen that you are almost completely incapable of thinking deeply anymore, because you're just at the point where you are perfectly happy and you're perfectly just content with everything being fed to you. You're in that little bubble, whether you know that you're in that bubble or not. And that just becomes a habit. It becomes a way of life. And unfortunately, that's what we're seeing. We're seeing just a population of people who are at the point where we are losing the ability to think. We are losing the ability to exercise common sense, to use reasoning, to put two and two together and realize that sometimes the things that we're being told just don't add up. We've lost that ability. And you know what? It's time. It's time that we need to wake people up to this. And it's time that we fight back. Because if we do not fight back, and if we continue to let this happen, people like you and me who are awake and who know what is happening, pretty soon there will be none of us left. That's all that I have for you today. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet and would like to hear more of what I have to say, I would love if you would do that. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave one over on Instagram because YouTube disables my comments. And if you like my work and would like to check out my Patreon page, I will leave a link in the description box for that as well. And I hope you have a great day.